Alright boys, welcome back to a new mixing tutorial. Today we're taking a look at my mix of Pray for Rain by POLARIS. It might not sound like it, but it's one of the hardest covers I have ever done. POLARIS guitar parts are very varied with lots of different tails, and it was very hard to memorize. But let's talk tones today. As usual, I will turn off my Master Bus plugins and describe what they're doing at the end, like I would do when mixing. This drum tone, what is this drum tone? Alright, so this is my Periphery 4 drum tone. To get a very detailed rundown so that I don't repeat myself, you guys can go check out my P4 demo and review video on YouTube, and you will reach this exact drum tone plugin by plugin. I didn't even change any kit pieces, so it should be exactly what's on there. You just type up P4 demo review on YouTube, and I should even be the first video if everything is correct. So that is the drum sound. And this way we can save some time in this mixing tutorial. Be sure to go check out that demo and review for the full rundown, because you got a lot of plugins to talk about on this bass tone. So let's hear that. Very nasty stuff. Let's go one by one. All right, so this is what the DI sounds like. Not the freshest, but not the oldest strings either. Excuse me. So the main engine for the bass tone is Joel Wanasek BG Bass. This guy gives you bass compression, so compression for the low frequencies, top end compression, so compression for the top frequencies, and distortion for the high frequencies. So you go from a DI to this. Pretty cool, right? You usually see me go for distortion A, which sounds very saturated, very dark glassy, but today I went for distortion B, which is more focused on the attack, and it really gave the character that I liked. From this, we're going to take it to the Focusrite console just for EQ purposes, and the EQ moves are low pass filter. Wait, is that correct? Yes, low pass filter down to 7.2 kilohertz to get rid of some fizz, and a high pass filter up to 33 hertz just to get rid of excessive subs. Then the rest of the EQ is a low end boost, 2 decibels at 56. This is a very fat sounding 56. You can see how good that sounds. We just want a little bit of that. And to cut 2 decibels of some pretty honky stuff at 400. I could overdo it. It sounds cool. But I think a lot of the character is in that mid-range snarl. I like it. It's very not present in modern mixes, and I like to try to bring it back. Now we're going to try to compress the bass sound so that it's very consistent. And this is an emulation of an 1176 compressor. And it's very cool to hit it just a little bit because it can be very aggressive. And it just makes sure that every note has the same volume. That before and after might be a little bit hard to hear, but you can see in the meters how the volumes begin to be very consistent after it. And then because it's a compressor and not a limiter, it's going to let some peaks through. And the way I'm going to limit those peaks is a limiter. So I give it a threshold. And if any pick attack is way too strong, this guy cuts it down to make sure that the bass tone is a very nice, consistent slab of sound. All right. Now, a very cool thing I need to show you guys is this trick with the Pultec EQ. So this is a Pultec style EQ, which is meant to boost low frequencies and high frequencies. So to boost your bass and treble. But it does so in a very cool way. This is the Waves emulation. There's some free emulations. You can look up Pultec EQ free, for example. And the way you do it is you select the high frequency you want and you boost that. We're not using it for highs today, we're using it for lows. You choose the low frequency, you can boost it here, but you can also cut. So you choose your low frequency, you boost and you cut. But if you boost and cut at the same time, it changes the shape of the boost. So let's listen to this. Wait, turn it on. This is what the boost sounds like, a very fat, nice, thick boost. But watch if I cut at the same time. If I cut at the same time, it not only boosts the lows, but it also starts cutting away at the mids. And it makes the bass shape very round and nice. So I had this at about 5 boost and a little bit more cut, like 5.5. Check a before and after. It's a very nice type of boost. So you should experiment with a Pultec EQ on your bass and try this trick. After that, all I need is a filter in the low end. So this is a 55 Hertz high pass. I always forget which one is high, which one is low pass. Here there's a 33 one just to get rid of the very, very bad stuff. But this 55 one is the one that's going to control all the unnecessary subs that we should be leaving to the kick anyways. There's a little cut here at around a 155. That's not really doing anything, but I keep it in the dynamic position of the F6 so that it's not constantly cutting it, which leads to a very hollow sound, but it's just reducing it a little bit when it's too much. This high-end filter is really not doing anything. The high-end filter that's working the most is this one. And that is how you get this awesome bass tone. Let's talk guitars now. This is what the DIs sound like. Where's my favorite? Very cool. And we're going to run it into STL tonality Will Putney, Amp 2, which is the Bogner emulation, boosting the mids and cutting the bass a little bit, and Cabinet 3, which is a Mesa Cab emulation. I like this. And then on the EQ, some small moves. We're brightening it up from 3.3K and above. This is just brightening. And we're starting to filter the low end. Here's a filter at 60 and filtering the high end above 16K. Here's a cool thing. I am EQing the DIs before they hit the amp. So let's turn off the amp. And now EQ the DIs. Very subtle, small cuts at 350, 630, just kind of honky frequencies that if you boost into the amp, makes it sound line 6C. If you overcut them, it sounds very sharp. So EQing your DI before the amp can be a very nice trick. Try boosting stuff, try cutting stuff, all kinds of effects. This guy is here to remove harsh frequencies on the guitars. It's what this plugin does. I just solo the harsh frequencies it's cutting. You can hear it hissing. You can't overdo it or you'll lose all the balls in your guitar tone. Very cool plugin. And here with the EQ on the Focusrite, we're going to do some boosting. So more high-end boosting, 4.7K and above, and a very small cut at 200 Hertz to make room for bass and snare. You can see this is the key region of the body of the guitars. Filters up to 87. So now we've gotten well rid of sub low end, and a high filter down to 15K. So we've gotten rid of fizz. Here's a guitar secret for you guys. It's an exciter plugin. So this is Vitamin by Waves, and you can excite different frequency bands on whatever you run through it. So let's listen to this mid band. Let's listen to the high mid. And the high. You can, on this plugin, adjust those individually and give them extra, it's like saturation. You saturate those frequencies and you compress them. So it's called exciting the sound. I'm going to overdo exciting mids. Oops. Hopefully you can hear the big difference on and off there. I'm exciting the mids, the high mids, and the highs just the tiniest bit to make sure that the guitar sound pokes through. And then just compression. It's always a good idea to compress your rhythm guitars a little bit because it's going to control the palm mutes if they're too loud, as you can see right here. Normal notes don't get too cut, but palm mutes get hit a little bit to make sure they're the same volume. That's the nicest breakdown. Epic. Let's move on to the small stuff. Lo-fi tone, very easy. I like to grab the same tone as the rhythms to make sure they match. And on whatever EQ of choice, I'll just take the plugin one. You're going to filter the high end down quite a bit and filter the low end quite a bit, and you'll get the radio sound instantly. Hi-fi, lo-fi. I adjusted it with further EQ, and this is it. These very wet leads are also easy. Whatever distorted amp you like the character of, you put it into 100% wet reverb. That's what I like to do at least. And the decay according, 6 seconds sounds good here. Sometimes I go all the way to 16 for craziness. Just be sure to EQ a lot of low end out of it. So here's a low cut up to all the way up to 580 Hertz. Gets rid of a lot of rumble. Hopefully you can hear that. That's a lot of space that it occupies that it doesn't have to. And here's a double check with an EQ after. And you get this wet lead that can add some harmony to your riff. Now for a proper lead, I've been using all the same rhythm tone for the leads. That sounded wrong. I've been using the same tone as the rhythms for the wet lead so that it matches, but I've switched cabinets on this lead because this one really needs to poke through. Cabinet 4 gives it a slightly different character. And as you can hear, I turned on the delay pedal. Quarter note delay, stereo right here. Good to go. This little reverb, 4 seconds at 15% mix, very soft to put it in its own space. And this EQ again is just a double check on sub low end. Anything beneath 100, I'm not playing notes under 100, I can cut that off. Let's move to these clean guitars. These are pretty much exactly the clean tone preset on the Will Putney amp simulator. I don't think I changed anything here. No, absolutely not. Oh, I have. On the effect pedals, I just made it more reverby and more delay. So I changed the wetness to go up. It's a pretty cool clean tone right off the bat. And on the bus, I added, again, you'll see this a lot. Add more reverb, but this one is a 16-second one at 30% mix because you need a lot of length when the guitar is by itself on the clean tone. And a double check on the low end, getting rid of anything beneath 120. Very easy. This bass patch is straight out of Expand 2. This is Super Fuzz on the synth basses. And after it, all I did was a cut at 45 Hertz. So this is just to make sure that there's no sub rumble on it. You can't go as far as the other tracks I did, because this one is actually playing very low notes. You need that information, but beneath 45, there's a lot of sub rumble that I don't want there. There's a track with my normal explosions. Some of them are 808 drops this time. No EQ on these, I just give them the correct volume. Is there EQ on these? Oh, there is. So there's one at 22, which is the lowest cut you'll see me do. It's almost superstitious because beneath 22, there's not going to be anything. But if you cut at 22, the roll-off catches a little bit of the 30 region that there's stuff there that it can be attenuated. So yeah, it's more careful. So if someone plays this on their car, I don't want to blow up their speakers. This might help. There's some little things to make a beat here. They're mostly unaffected. There's just reverb on the ping. And then there's a wind sound to build tension here on the beginning. For this one, getting rid of sub rumble was necessary because I want the low end power of the wind, but none of the sub literally speaker shaking stuff. Just this bassy but controlled wind blow. Nice. We can now move on to the way the master bus is reacting to all of this. So my goal with the master bus is to improve the mix a little bit and then compress it so that I can make it properly loud. The first tool is Golfos, and Golfos is the tool that makes it a little bit better in terms of the EQ shape of the mix. This guy automatically tries to boost what it thinks is best about your mix and cut what it thinks is worse. It's really an algorithm magic. The main thing that it does is it always boosts a little bit of high end. That's very nice and I like it. And it also controls the bass frequencies. So if the kick is playing, it cuts down, but when the kick isn't playing, it boosts up, so that it's not a bass thing with a kick blowing through it. It's a constant amount of bass. You reduce the kick's bass so that you can boost the actual bass. Look at it here. Very subtle today, but still making it 1% better. The compressor I'm using is the Bus Glue Mix, again from the Joel Wanasek Bus Glue series. Just aiming to tap the kick and snare. That's always the goal with the mix compressor for me. And these options have tonal options that are once again part of that 1% better thing. No small time is a little bit of widening, so the guitars pop a little bit to the sides. And the transformers give it some saturation so that the mix sounds a little bit thicker in the low end. Between these two, there's a big EQ difference. But the biggest EQ difference is going to be the linear multiband compressor. And this guy is where I change different regions of the mix in terms of EQ. You can hear that's the mid-range region, so the more guitar-y region. This is the low mids. And this right here is the sub bass. Yo! What up, man? Já vou, peraí. Na boa, man. This guy is the high end. And this guy is like the inaudible stuff. So you can compress them differently on a multiband compressor. So if I wanted to tame my guitars, I'd just go to the mid-range one and really duck the threshold. Check this out. Very powerful. If I wanted to get rid of some muddiness in this low mid region, you can overdo it, but it's a cool tool for tonal balance of the mix. I'm just letting it do what it usually does with a flat curve instead, but I'm not letting it get the guitar band too much. And then the limiter. My limiting philosophy is very simple. Chop down the kicks and snares just enough to make the rest louder. You can see the kick and snare being chopped off there, and you can see they're like -4 gain reduction average. Looks about right, makes the mix loud, doesn't destroy it. There you go. Thank you guys so much for watching this and for supporting the channel right here on Patreon. It means a lot, so be sure to take advantage of your subscription and watch all the previous mixing tutorials. And that's it. I'll see you later, guys. Take care.